Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Vishwapad Paramhamsa Parivrajikacharya Shtota Shat Divine Grace Abhachanaya Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gopranande. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So my obeisances to all of you. It's always nice to be here again in San Diego. And just the opportunity to discuss Bhagavatam with all of you, assembled Vaishnavas. All of you are so progressive and advanced. It's always a joy to discuss these subject matters. All the devotees who attend here in person, all the devotees who are attending online. It's a real joy to be with you. So dear devotees, this morning the Bhagavatam places before us a very sobering scene. The war is over between Ram and Rāvaṇa. Rāvaṇa is gone, he's dead. The dust has settled. The victory has already been decided. Now the women of Lanka emerge. That's interesting in and of itself. They're not warriors. They're not politicians. They're not philosophers. Their wives, their mothers, their dependents. And Bhagavatam chooses this moment, not the battle itself, but this interesting angle to teach us. Remember, this is a condensed version of the Ramayana. It's not the full thing. It's very small. And so it's interesting to see what Vyasadeva chooses to focus on. Because he's only bringing out the highlights. Why is this a highlight? That in itself is interesting. Like the women coming out and crying. It shouldn't be part of, like that's over now. Let's move on to the next canto. That's something to reflect on. It's quite a sobering scene. At the same time, look around you, look at the deities. Look at the brilliant, blazing yellow colors. Today is Vasanta Panchami. You know, the ladies who know they're wearing yellow. At least one gentleman was wearing yellow. Shankarshan Prabhu. This Vasanta Panchami is a day whose auspiciousness is not mild. It's not symbolic. It's genuinely extraordinary. So today we hold two realities side by side. The collapse of false shelter. Who was the false shelter for these women? Ravana. So you have a collapse of false shelter and the gentle, overwhelming arrival of divine shelter in the form of Vasanta Panchami. So we'll read the verses. We are reading verses 9th canto, chapter 10, verse 24. So you can look it up on your devices. And we can follow along. 9, 10, 24 through 26. Okay, we'll do 3 verses. Tato nishkram, oh, it's one word by word, sorry. Tato nishkramya lankaya yatu dhanya sahasrasha mandodarya samam tatra praryudantya upadravan tato nishkramya lankaya yatu dhanya sahasrasha mandodarya samam tatra prarudantya upadravan tato nishkramya lankaya yatu dhanya sahasrasha mandodarya samam tatra prarudantya upadravan. Please go ahead. Tato nishkramya lankaya yatu dhanya sahasrasha mandodarya samam tatra prarudantya upadravan. Tato nishkramya lankaya yatu dhanya sahasrasha mandodarya samam tatra prarudantya upadravan. Tato nishkramya lankaya yatu dhanya sahasrasha mandodarya samam tatra prarudantya upadravan. Mataji, maybe. Tato nishkramya lankaya yatu dhanya sahasrasha mandodarya samam tatra prarudantya upadravam. Tata, thereafter, nishkramya, coming out, lankaya, from Lanka, yatu dhanya, the wives of the Rakshasas, sasrasha, by the thousands and thousands, Mandodarya, headed by Mandodari, the wife of Ravana, samam, with, tatra, there, prarudantya, crying in lamentation, upadravan, came near their dead husbands. Translations and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thereafter, all the women whose husbands had fallen in battle, headed by Mandodari, the wife of Ravana, came out of Lanka, continuously crying. They approached the dead bodies of Ravana and the other Rakshasas. So I'll read the next couple of verses. Just go through those. Swan swan badun parishvajja lakshmaneshu birarditan rurudu suswaram dina jnatva atmanam atmana. Striking their breasts in affliction because their husbands had been killed by the arrows of Lakshman, the women embraced their respective husbands and cried piteously in voices appealing to everyone. Ha hatasma vayam natha loka ravana ravana kamyaya charanam lanka twadvihina parardita. O my Lord, O Master, you epitomized trouble for others, and therefore you are called Ravana. But now that you have been defeated, we are also defeated. For without you, the state of Lanka has been conquered by the enemy. To whom will it go for shelter? Srila Prabhupada's purport. Ravana's wife Mandodari and the other wives knew very well how cruel a person Ravana was. The very word Ravana means one who causes crying for others. Ravana continuously caused trouble for others. But when his sinful activities culminated in giving trouble to Sītādevī, he was killed by Lord Rāmacandra. Purport ends here. Hare Krishna. Notice that the Bhagavatam does not sensationalize. It simply lets the scene breathe. It just gives you kind of what's going on. Prabhupada's purport kind of follows in that same mood. See, Mandodari is standing at the center of this tragedy. She's actually one of the most well-known, you can say, chaste ladies of the time. She's actually known for her chastity. Really, she was intelligent, she was virtuous, and she warned Ravana repeatedly, don't do this, you're really asking for trouble. She actually warned him. So it's not like she was a doormat that you just listen or just be quiet. No, she actually warned Ravana. And yet when Ravana was killed by Lord Rāmacandra, she collapses in grief. Why? She knew. She's saying, oh, you caused trouble, you troublesome troublemaker, and yet you're gone, I'm so sad. It's interesting. She knew very well what he's doing was wrong. Even while he was doing it, was about to do it. After he did it, after he got killed, it was just wrong through and through. And yet she collapses in grief. Why? Because knowledge alone does not uproot our emotional dependence. When we're very deeply emotionally invested, theorizing, philosophizing is not enough. She tried. She had enough theory and philosophy and understanding to tell him don't do it, but she was still very deeply, So this is one of Bhagavatam's most mature teachings. This is something to, when we look at Bhagavatam, we look at the nuances being brought out forward. Understand the background. Who is Mandodari? Why is she crying like this? Other women we can understand, but she is known to be knowledgeable. Mandodari cries, she says, without you, to whom will Lanka go to for shelter? That question is the real verse. Srila Prabhupada highlights something in his purport. It's very chilling. Rāvaṇa's name. He kind of zooms in on it, right? And he says, Rāvaṇa's very name means one who causes crying for others. Bhagavatam, in doing this, demonstrates a law of symmetry. That which defines us outwardly eventually returns to us inwardly. If we continuously act in a certain way, eventually it comes back to us. We may think our inner life is different, but if it impacts our inner life. We can only separate inner and outer life for so long before they catch up with each other. Rāvaṇa, what did he do? He caused the crying of sages and good kings, pious families, and finally Sītādevī. He made her cry. And now the closest to him are crying because of him. This is not punishment, this is symmetry. This is things evening out. See? What are the wives doing? Who are they embracing? Lifeless bodies. They're striking their breasts. Their voices are described as suswaram, the sweet and touching. This is the word in this. Bhagavatam acknowledges their sincerity. Not saying, oh, these guys are just pretending. No, they're not. They're feeling it. They're not pretending. But who is their shelter? Rāvaṇa. It's a false shelter. They're insecure right now, not knowing that the real shelter is about to come, that Lord Rama is going to provide their shelter. He's going to install Vibhishan, who's a true devotee of the Lord, and so on. They don't know that. They think, oh, where will Lanka go for shelter now? As if Rāvaṇa was a great shelter. See? So Bhagavatam acknowledges their sincerity, but sincerity without proper shelter still suffers. Sincerity in and of itself is not enough. It has to be aligned with a proper shelter. Sometimes we approach Krishna, but we don't have sincerity. That also is not that great. Sometimes we have a lot of sincerity, but we approach the wrong person or the wrong goal in life. Then that sincerity will be your own undoing. The sincerity in and of itself is hard to do, hard to be sincere. But sincerity in and of itself does not take us to Krishna. It has to be aligned with Krishna. See? So this is one of the most uncomfortable truths in devotional life. That material shelter always dies before our attachment dies. The shelter in which we are attached to will die before us. It'll get pulled away. Our attachment will remain. And the gap between the two is where our suffering lives. We suffer between this gap of our attachment and that shelter. And that's what you see in the tears of Mandodari and the wives. That's what we want to zoom into. Let that impression, when we read the Bhagavatam, let every verse and every picture and impression go deep into our hearts. And when we discuss the class, let's try to really zoom into the message that Vyasadeva is trying to bring forth. Yeah. Now somehow, by the mercy of the Lord, this verse falls on Vasant Panchami. So that's the Lord being very brilliant. Places this scene on a day like today. What a contrast. Vasanta Panchami is not accidentally auspicious. Its auspiciousness is off the charts. This is not one holy event. It's a flood of divine occurrences converging on a single day. It's amazing. First, Krishna himself declares in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, right? He says, of seasons I am the flower-bearing spring. Spring is the only season he claims that I am. He didn't say I'm also the winter, I'm also the summer. No, only spring. That's interesting. Why? Vasant Panchami marks the arrival of spring, but why spring? Because this Vasant Ritu, the spring season, is the only season. It transforms without violence. It's a beautiful, gradual transformation. Winter doesn't get destroyed, like smashed. No, it gets outgrown by flowers. Bhakti works exactly like that. It transforms beautifully. It's joy from the beginning to the end. See? So, on this day, what do we remember? We remember the Vasanta Rasa Leela. See, Krishna does Sharad Ras. Sharad means in the autumn, in the fall. He has this beautiful Ras. That's that Maharas that we read about in the Bhagavatam. But there's also another Ras Leela that happens here on this day, Vasanta Ras Leela. This is Ras Leela without urgency. This is Ras Leela without anxiety, without a sense of desperation. It is love that has already found its shelter. The Ras Leela reminds us, the gopis who have found shelter in Krishna, how happy they are. It's a good day to contrast this verse, because today's verse shows that what happens when love loses its shelter, and we see the gopis who have found the true shelter. It's a good day to contrast. What else happens on Vasanta Panchami? Vasanta Panchami is the appearance of Sītādevī. Right? Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. We say that. We are invoking our spirit. We actually, right? Prabhupada translates. This is Saraswati Devi. So Saraswati Devi is not outside the scope of our prayers. This is crucial. Rāvaṇa was learned. He was blessed by Saraswati Devi. He was cultured, believe it or not. He was intellectually brilliant. But intelligence without devotion becomes dangerous. Yeah, because you're capable of doing so many things. And if you have capability, you can build massively dangerous, destructive things. Frameworks, ideas. The Bhagavatam itself begins by offering obeisance to Saraswati, right? Nashtaparayashu patreshu nityam bhagavate sevata bhakadavati uttamashloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. Then, Narayan namaskrityam naranchaiva narottama devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Why are you offering obeisances to Saraswati Devi? Why is Vyasadeva doing that? So that knowledge that we gain remains submissive to the absolute truth. The knowledge that we have, the ability of applying our intelligence with the knowledge, has to be aligned with the absolute truth. Otherwise, that same knowledge can destroy us. What happened to Rāvaṇa? See? So, just trying to connect Vasanta Panchami, Saraswati Devi, to today's verse. It's a bit of a stretch, but you can see the connection. Everything is connected. Rāvaṇa was blessed by Saraswati, but then she, when the Lord appears and Saraswati Devi gives deference to the Lord. Similar thing happened. Anyone know the pastime where Saraswati Devi gives deference to the Lord? First, she gives a lot of strength to one individual, but then when the Lord appears on the scene, then she turns to the Lord and offers him obeisances. Anybody know which pastime that is? Yes. Yes. Keshav Kashmiri. Digvijay Keshav Kashmiri. Exactly. Thank you, Prabhu. Keshav Kashmiri had the full blessing of Saraswati Devi. Incredible. But when he got defeated by Mahaprabhu, by Nimai Pandit, he was so crushed. He went home, he was crying and praying to Saraswati Devi. What happened? And then she came in his dream and told him, you dare to challenge my Lord. I pray to him. So I had to withdraw. I can't be supporting you when you're in a battle against my Lord. Battle other people, no problem, I'll support you. So it's a good day to remember that, a pastime today, because it's Vasanta Panchami. She appeared today, and she participates in the Lord's Leelas and reminds us of the Lord. So again, you see, we are not bereft of the worship of demigods. When we glorify Saraswati Devi in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we are worshipping her by bringing her into the Leela of the Lord. Worshipping demigods, honoring them, glorifying them, our devotees do it all the time, but in the proper context. And it pleases the Lord when you do it in that way. So Vyasadeva also brings her into the picture. And Vyasadeva again comes as Krishnadas Kaviraj, and he brings her into the picture again. So, we should not think we're missing out on anything. Saraswati Devi is a big part of it, and so we can appreciate her today on Vasanta Panchami. Today is also the appearance day of Vishnu Priya Devi. Vishnu Priya Devi, the wife of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I want to come back to the theme of shelter. Her entire life teaches us the concept of quiet shelter. She performed so many austerities after the Lord left. No drama, no protest, no bitterness, just unwavering fidelity, loyalty to the Lord, faith in the Lord, and inner depth, unfathomable depth. Again, a contrast. She's the complete opposite of what's happening in Lanka right now, in this scene. Complete opposite. Full faith in the Lord. Even though the Lord has gone and left, she maintains a faith and strength. Vishnu Priya. It's her appearance day today, so amazing. Then it's also the day of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Pundarik Vidyanidhi is an amazing devotee in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela. He was externally very opulent. He was one of the richest people in the town. And he lived in opulence too, like a king. Silken bedding and the best dresses and lots of servants and finest, delicacies. Of course, he's a pure devotee. But externally opulent and internally drowning in prema, so much soaked in love. Bhagavatam constantly dismantles the idea that external appearance defines your devotion. Constantly. Two of the greatest devotees of the Lord, who are among the 12 Mahajans, are born in demon families. Two of them, Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj. Another Mahabhagavat is Vritrasura, big, ugly-looking demon, and yet he was fighting with Indra, and you would think you should be rooting for Indra, but he was a much greater devotee than Indra will ever be. You can tell by the prayer. So Bhagavatam is always telling us, inviting us to think, wait a minute, don't judge by externals. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi also. Ravana also had opulence. He's also rich. He had the silken things and everything. But only one of the two had surrendered to the Lord. The right shelter had surrendered. Therefore, we glorify Pundarik Vidyanidhi on this day. Anybody know the appearance day of Ravana? No, we don't care. We don't care what calendar day. We don't observe the half-day fasting. But we celebrate these great devotees, Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He was loaded too. Pretty rich guy. But he was also overloaded with prema. Actually, Pundarik Vidyanidhi was an incarnation of, does anybody know? Vrishabhanu, that's correct. Vrishabhanu, Radharani's father. Yes. it is also the appearance of Raghunandan Thakur. Raghunandan Thakur is some nice pastime. He's also in that Leela. And he was such an advanced devotee, he was more advanced than his own father, So then, I think as Mahaprabhu said, are you the father or is the son, He's such a great devotee, So, Raghunandan Thakur successfully invited the Lord in the deity form to interact with him and accept him. It was really sweet pastime. So his appearances today, so many, it's like everywhere he goes, so many nice things today. His story reminds us that devotion invites the presence of the Lord in your life. Some people say the deity is made of stone, and Prabhupada said if you see only stone, then that's all you'll see. But if you see the Lord and recognize the Lord here, then the stone becomes deity, not by force, but by love. So Lanka and Lanka's policies relied on force. You can't force. But from Raghunandan Thakur we learned that you invite the Lord. So Rāvaṇa relied on force. Bhakti relies on invitation. When we chant our japa, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, we're inviting the Lord to come into our lives. And we're then asking the Lord after we invite Him, please accept us, please accept me into your service. That's the fundamental baseline mood and prayer that we chant with. And we want no other mood in our consciousness at that time. Only that mood. And no other thought. There should be no thought. We have a mood, a prayerful mood, and no thought on the mind. The mind should be fully occupied in hearing the sound. And that is a system that Mahaprabhu taught. In fact, tomorrow we'll spend 6 hours trying to just work on that one thing. So, Bhakti relies on invitation, not force. We have to learn how to invite the Lord. Learn the gestures. It's not just the gestures. It's a gesture in our heart. Astonishingly, Vasanta Panchami is also the appearance day of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Wow! I mean, how many times did Prabhupada quote him in his purports? It's a great Acharya in a line. He's the Acharya who clarified shelter. He defined dependence, how to be dependent on the Lord. And he systematized Raganuga Bhakti. Like, how can you approach something that's spontaneous in a systematic way? He actually broke it down that you can actually do it. Vishwanath Thakur wrote that. Do you know, anybody know the name of the book that he wrote that makes a systematic progress? Madhurya Kadambini. Yeah. That's the one, right? I think that's the one. Where he really gets into the various steps of moving upwards and make it systematic, so you end up with Raganuga Prem Bhakti. But you start with where you are at. It's possible. He's Acharya who defined shelter, dependence, and emotional truth in Bhakti. So it's almost impossible to imagine a more perfect alignment with today's verses about shelter, about dependence. Dependence on the right person. So today, very deliberately, Srimad Bhagavatam places two realities before us. Well, Bhagavatam it's not as a philosophy or an abstract category, but as lived experiences. On one side you see Lanka, dramatic collapse. I mean, that was a massive kingdom with its influence everywhere. And, Mandodari was the empress and she had thousands at her command and collapsed. You can just picture her. Loud grief, crying, screaming, lost shelter. On the other side, Vasanta, gentle growth, quiet renewal, yellow flowers sprouting everywhere. and true shelter of the Lord. Bhagavatam is not asking us which of these do we prefer today. The Lord is asking us, which one are we currently cultivating? Am I currently subtly cultivating investments in a future of false shelter? Am I investing my emotions today in the wrong thing, the wrong goals? What are the traces of selfishness in my plans for the future? Where is my sense of dependence toward the Lord today and in the future? What am I cultivating? What seeds am I planting? That's what the Lord is asking us today. You see? So what seeds we plant now will determine what comes out when they grow, the flowers. So look at Lanka. Lanka did not fall suddenly, but it fell inevitably. It was going to fall. It was built on brilliance, power, wealth, culture, learning. From the outside, it looked bulletproof, indestructible. But Lanka collapsed not because it lacked strength or strategy or resources, but because it lacked alignment. And when the collapse came, it was loud, crying, wailing, striking the chest, clinging to what's already dead, the dead bodies embracing them. This is how material shelter always ends. Not quietly, not gracefully, painfully and emotionally explosively. It's inevitable. These balloons do pop if you invest in them emotionally. And you shouldn't be surprised when they pop. The Bhagavatam is gentle enough to show us through this picture that this suffering is not theoretical. It's a suffering that's the problem. It's relational. It's intimate. Suffering happens here in the heart, big time. And the people who cry the loudest are not the enemies. They are the dependents. Those who have invested in the wrong shelter. See? Now Bhagavatam pivots away. We pivot away from the Bhagavatam, and the Lord has announced this today, this Vasanta. Notice how different the movement is. Lanka collapsed downwards. Vasanta grows upwards. Lanka ends in noise. Vasanta begins in silent blooming. No one hears spring arrive. There's no announcement. But one day you simply notice something is alive again. Whoa. That's why Krishna identifies with the spring. He says, I'm that spring. Spring doesn't fight winter. It doesn't criticize winter. It doesn't argue with winter. It just simply outlasts it. Spring doesn't demand belief. It doesn't insist on recognition. It just keeps doing what it does. Gentle power. Eventually, the denial becomes impossible. You can't deny the presence of the flowers everywhere. Bhakti is exactly like that. Bhakti doesn't arrive with force. It doesn't dominate consciousness. It doesn't impose itself. Krishna never forces himself on you. It invites gentle cooperation, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. Chant one round. Okay, increase more if you like it. Oh, that's all. Don't worry about anything. Just add Krishna to your life. Start coming. How come there's no breakfast today? Oh, today's Ekadashi. Oh, what is that? Oh, we fasted today. Oh, you should have told me. Okay, fine, whatever. But it feels so. So I start fasting. So gradually, gently, we eased into some of the more difficult things. And fasting on Ekadashi is not that bad. But this is also a reason why bhakti is easy to postpone. You see, if it's so gentle, it's okay. I'll start bhakti next week or next year. Right now I have important things to do. I'll start my chanting. Right now I'm in the middle of high school, it's so difficult. Okay, now college is even more difficult. So maybe after graduate, then I'll pick up the beats. No, bhakti is easy to postpone. It's impossible to replace. There's nothing that can replace bhakti practice. See? So, what is this teaching? This teaching is especially this contrast between Lanka and Vasant. Those who have been practicing for a while also must be especially careful. Why? Because devotees of advanced, they have functional stability. Life works, you have routine, sadhana exists, solid, responsibilities are managed nicely, which then makes it easy to postpone the inner work. See? Lanka did not look unstable until it was already too late. So Vasanta Rutu, the spring season, by contrast, doesn't wait for crisis. It begins before necessity forces it. It just works on time. So today is Vasanta Panchami. We're not just celebrating auspiciousness. It's offering good timing for us to remind ourselves to work on our inner lives. Make our inner surrender much, much stronger every day. Stronger than we were last week, yesterday. Even by a little bit. So bhakti does not demand, it invites. Krishna invites. Krishna doesn't force. He's actually taken a vow not to force us. If he forced us, then it wouldn't be freedom anymore. Our love will be at gunpoint. So he doesn't force us. He invites all the time. Yes. Material energy demands attention. It creates urgency. It manufactures crises. Bhakti waits. Bhakti waits patiently for sincerity. All these so-called crises, they're ultimately inconsequential to the soul. But Bhakti invites us to step out of that whirlwind. We don't even belong here. Why are we so getting worked up and caught up by it? It doesn't create that sense of crazy, desperate urgency, like just enter into another whirlwind. But there's a quiet urgency that's required. The urgency to crank up our sincerity, to be a little bit more humble, for a sense of building our willingness to be more like Krishna wants us to be. And when bhakti comes in our lives, like really establish itself, it comes gently, but it stays, it's deep-rooted, and that's the difference. It's the difference between the material paradigm and the bhakti paradigm. So when we hear these verses today, Bhagavatam is not pointing at Rāvaṇa, it's pointing inward. It's asking us, very softly, is your bhakti growing like spring, or is it are you building a facade like Lanka, inevitability of falling? Spring doesn't argue, it simply arrives. Bhakti doesn't demand, it invites. And today that invitation is especially strong. Hare Krishna, thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, oh, it's 8:30 already. Okay. Are we out of time?
Yeah, till 1:15.
Oh, okay. Okay, great, sure. So anybody has any comments or questions? Yes, Vijayamani Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madana-gopāla Prabhu. Wonderful lecture. What I liked that you said about shelter dying and attachment stays, and that gap is suffering. But in our example, isn't it the same? That we also have experience of that suffering, but of course for the proper shelter. And it's in an example of Lord Rāmacandra as well, as we read earlier.
Okay, can you say that again? I didn't quite catch exactly what you're saying about the gap. Right, the gap is called our gap between our attachment.
Yes, attachment and
Yes.
Shelter. Shelter dies, but the attachment stays.
Yes, right. Because when you're attached to the material, usually the material shelter that we invested in dies before our attachment is gone. And so when that disappears or somehow it's gone from our hands, then we really, really suffer. Right? And so then your question was, isn't that the same as...
Isn't that the same that we experience that as well? Because our shelter...
We meaning? Devotees.
Devotees who are practicing. Because Krishna can come and go in maybe it's a little esoteric, but with the example of the gopis, for example, he comes and goes. So.
Yes, it's a good question. Good question. Krishna may be here and present before us, and we feel His presence, or we don't feel it. Like the gopis were in so much misery when Krishna disappeared from the rasa dance. It's a very good question. So, the real issue, the real pain, is being something we are not. It is not when Krishna comes and goes. We learn about this in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikshashtakam. He said, I don't care if you crush me by your embrace or you crush my heart by not being present before me. That's not important for me. You're my Lord, right? Isn't it? The gopis also. Prabhupada explains that the materialists don't know that crying is a great pleasure. Crying in separation from Krishna is a great pleasure. How can crying in separation be pleasure? Because when Krishna is being remembered and we're calling out to Krishna, whether Krishna is physically present and you feel His full presence, or you feel His absence and that's an intense feeling, vipralamba. Both of those are considered embankments of the same river. So when you're at the embankment of the river, you have access to the spirituality. In fact, there's one story where Radharani is literally just holding hands with Krishna, literally like inches away from his face. And then she gets into this mindset, oh, Krishna disappeared. Where is he? He's right there. But she feels he's very far away and she cries, Krishna, where are you? She's screaming. Why is that? Because she's now decided, even when Krishna is here, I'm going to enjoy, dive into the roaring embankment of separation. Because that is also very, very uplifting. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu experiences that. The contrast is here in material life and spiritual life. And this is something for us to reflect on. In material life, there is satiation, but there is no satisfaction. What do I mean by that? Satiation means, oh, my stomach is full, but I still didn't. It's like eating junk food where you didn't get any nutrients. The stomach is full, there's no place to put anything else, but body is still craving, you don't feel satisfied, you feel very dissatisfied. Imagine you ate a bunch of styrofoam apples. You fill the stomach, but that's what material life is. You're satiated in the sense that, okay, you can't stuff anymore, but there's just no satisfaction. That's our experience, and that's how the scriptures describe it. In spiritual life, it's the opposite. There is satisfaction from day one, but there's no satiation. You go on drinking the nectar. Go on drinking. The river is available to you at any time. Dive into it, drink, 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 drink. No matter how much you drink, you'll never be full. But you feel a sense of an undercurrent of satisfaction because now you are where you belong. And every aspect of it, whether it's separation from the Lord, whether it's dancing with the Lord, whether it's service and remembrance, whether it's just any kind of interaction, any thought of the Lord, is just filling you with incredible ananda, joy. And the highest ananda is available in Vrindavan, the most intimate, Ananda Vrindavan. You know, this is why, because Krishna offers the most intimacy, and that's, like you said, the contrast. Interestingly, in this 9th canto, we see that scene of Lord Ram crying out for Sita, misery, utterly miserable. And even though it's a condensed version of Ramayana, Vyasadeva spends quite a few verses just on that scene. Like, why would you waste so many verses on this one scene? I get it, he's sad. He goes and talks to the creepers, why? To show that love. The sense of separation, that the Lord kind of, you can say, quote unquote, enjoys. How can he enjoy it? But it's in a form of enjoyment. While also giving a lesson, teaching a lesson. This is what happens to materialists when you're very attached, and inevitably you're separated. Multiple lessons, the acharyas comment on this. So the bottom line is that, yes, it looks comparable. When the gopis are crying, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is crying, it looks like he's miserable and he's having fits of intense emotion, but it's not misery. It's an undercurrent of satisfaction with no possibility of satiation. And that's who we actually are at our core. We want that. We want to be able to go on eating and not have a full stomach. That's what spiritual life offers us. And we want availability of non-stop enjoyment from within. You know, in Bhagavad Gita, yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonayoti. You know the verse where, you know, the contact with the senses, with the sense objects, are the mother of misery. Dukkha yona. Yoni means mother, or the womb. Why? Because they have beginning and end. And a smart person, Buddha, an intelligent person, a wise person, does not indulge in those kind of pleasures. Where does he get this pleasure from? They're within. If it's within, there's no beginning and end. What do you mean there's no beginning and end? There's no beginning and end means it's always available to you anytime, that stream. And those are smart, immerse themselves in the stream 24/7, stream of remembrance. And we can do that too by making every single thing we do connected to the remembrance of Krishna. And that's how we can be 24/7 satisfied and happy. So that's just a contrast. I hope that sort of answers your question. Thank you. Dijamani Prabhu, nice question. Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna. You gave a wonderful lecture on faith last night. And I was thinking about it today in the context of the two different sides. You have Rāvaṇa and all his followers, and Lord Ram and all his followers, and you know that have found shelter under each. Yeah. And obviously, the Rāvaṇa ended in demise. Right? He was killed. So and then Lord Ram was victorious. So as far as, the people, the devotees on the side of Ram, they're on the way to the red door. The the people that followed Rāvaṇa, obviously, their landmark is gone. So do you want to talk a little bit about faith on, in the context of those two juxtapositions?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, last night we had a discussion on this concept of Shraddha, or faith, in the Krishna Lounge. So what we were exploring was that faith is required in any pursuit of any field of knowledge. It's not that faith is only for spiritual things, or like this chemistry book and these books of physics and mathematics, these are books of knowledge. And this Bhagavad Gita and Bible and Quran, these are books of faith. Yeah, people think this is two categories. Knowledge, this is faith. That's not the right way to look at it. Faith is required to absorb knowledge in any tradition, whether it's chemistry, physics, or Bhagavatam. Why? Because if I don't have initial trust that this is worth giving it a try, then I will not get my chemistry degree. Like I won't trust the professor, I won't go to the college, and if I say I want a bachelor's in chemistry, but I don't go to college and I don't actually take notes, and I can't get it. I can't get the degree. So even in chemistry, we need faith in the beginning. Now to contrast here, one of the functions of intelligence, we have a faculty of intelligence. One of the functions of intelligence is correct placement of faith. So when you have observed the world, who you end up trusting, like who you invest your faith in, is a reflection of how smart you are, your intelligence, isn't it? Some people will trust the wrong person because they haven't developed a fine intellect. There's gullibility. Gullibility how? Because that person is offering me candy right now, and if I follow him, then he'll take me to the ditch and he'll exploit me or something, right? Politicians do that all the time. They rally people up behind them. It's really the politician's playbook. Doesn't matter what party you're in. You try to offer some kind of enticements and rally people behind you, support you, and then you exploit them. So intelligence is to be used to place your faith correctly. Now, in this story, like you said, between the two sides of the war, you have those who are supporting Rāvaṇa. They're invested in him. They're his allies. They're his friends. They're his ministers. They're his generals. They're his warriors. His own brother, Kumbhkarna. Kumbhkarna and Rāvaṇa were the Jai Vijay. They're massive. Kumbhkarna is a massive giant guy. So obviously he had invested his faith in his brother. Actually, he couldn't really care less. He just wanted to eat all day and then sleep. So, and when he was woken up, I'm like, are you serious? Why are you waking me up? It's only been like 4 months. Like you wake up somebody and it's like, well, wake me up, man. It's only like 2 PM. So Kumbhkarna was like that, but he had faith in his brother. At least he supported him. But all these people had faith in Rāvaṇa. And of course, on Lord Rama's side, those who had faith in him were the ones you would least expect. Who are his allies? Bears and monkeys and squirrels? That's the army? An army of monkeys. Yeah. How is that? But these monkeys are special souls. They place their faith in the Lord. Of course, Hanumanji, the greatest devotee of Lord Ram, placed their faith. Now, interestingly, it is very possible for someone on the materialistic side to wake up and like, oh, this is not the right place to place my faith. And they leave that camp and they join Lord Ram's camp. The classic example is Vibhishana, Rāvaṇa's other brother, who was also a great devotee of Lord Ram. So even though he's supposed to be on Rāvaṇa's side, he joined Lord Ram's side. And sometimes we may not even recognize some people. And that's what happened when Vibhishana was flying in to meet Ram for the first time. And the battle was about to be. Ram was still on this side of the ocean. Then Lord Ram's friends and supporters, Hanumanji and others, are like, oh my God, the demons are coming. Looks like they're going to kill us. Let's attack them. They shouldn't be doing this. We should kill them right away. Lord Ram said, no, look, they're not having any weapons. Yeah, but they're flying. Like, that's freaky in and of itself. I said, no, just give it a chance, give it a shot. So Vibhishana came and he bowed down to the Lord. And Hanuman said, no, you should not trust these guys. And Lord Ram said, Sakrideva prapanno, yes, yavan yaschasmi. It's a very beautiful verse from Ramayana that is quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Lord Ram gives assurance to the monkeys and everybody else. He says, Sakrideva prapanno, yes, that if one even once, even non-committally, says, my Lord, I am yours, from that point onwards, I give him abhaya. Abhaya means fearlessness. I award him fearlessness. Freedom from all insecurities. That is, and this is my dhrida vrata. This is my strong vow, promise. And so if they're coming and taking shelter, even once, not like I don't need them to do it continuously, just once, Sakrideva. And even that may not be fully committal. I will award them this. So, just want to come back to your question, that when the correct placement, like you see Vibhishana placed the faith, replaced it, he moved it. Actually, he has always been a devotee of the Lord from the beginning. He didn't have to move his faith. But you see, he changed sides. In the sense that he was expected to fight on Ravana's side, but he never did. Even when Hanuman was burning down Lanka with his burning tail, he saw, wait, this is the symbols of the Lord, of a devotee of the Lord. I'm not going to burn this house down. That's Vibhishana's house. He burned every other house. It's interesting. So you can see that correct placement of faith, coming back to our tying in the class yesterday, will lead to, is the proper function of intelligence, and it'll lead to our everlasting joy. And suppose, like, okay, what if we think that I don't have that much intelligence? Like, my intelligence is pretty weak. I mean, at least my wife tells me that. So, actually reminds me of how dumb can you get. Anyway, so suppose I feel my intelligence is not strong enough. How do I get divine intelligence? The answer is in the Bhagavad Gita, 10:10. Anyone know the verse? 10:10. Tesham satadayuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami. Dadami means I give. Krishna says, I give. Buddhi yogam tam. I give that intelligence. Yeah? Yena mam upayanti te. By which one can come to me. Okay, what do I need to do to get that buddhi? Because right now I'm buddhihin. I have no buddhi. I have no intelligence. But Krishna says, doesn't matter if you don't have buddhi right now. I'll give you buddhi. This is one of the 4 core verses, part of the Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita. It's core. And he says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. To those who are constantly serving me, worshipping me with devotion and affection. Priti. Priti means affection and love, loving devotion. Constantly, satata, all the time. To them, I give this buddhi. What does that mean? That means you don't need buddhi to start serving Krishna with love and affection. Because if it was a prerequisite, he wouldn't be giving it to us. So you don't need to be super smart, although one who worships Krishna is super smart. It reflects that intelligence. But Krishna then awards that intelligence by which one can surrender. One can really become, one wakes up and he realizes, oh, this is what Krishna wants me to be. This is what he wants me to do. Those things become very clear. That's what this Buddhi Yoga means. If you knew exactly every day, every minute, what to do, what not to do, and you did it, that's what Buddhi Yoga means. What to avoid, what to do, then everything else is clear. It's stress-free. So it's a placement of faith, placement of intelligence, and you should not be afraid to change parties when you see the writing on the wall. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, I think we're quite over time now. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your time.